So OurSoldiersSpeak.org is the only organization in the history of the existence of the State of Israel through which the Israel Defense Forces and the Israeli National Police dispatch uniformed, active, serving members of their respective organizations to speak on university campuses throughout the English-speaking world. And to date, we've reached more than 370 campuses. We've done so in the United States, in Canada, in South Africa, to students off campus, and also in the United Kingdom. So when we go to the university campuses, we specialize in marrying up the expertise of the speaker with the interest of the students. So for example, given that we ply our work primarily at the graduate level, if there are a group of law students who wish to speak about the laws of armed conflict, we send an officer from the Military Advocate General's Corps of the IDF or the legal advisor to the Israeli National Police. If it's medical students, we send a medical officer. Equally, if it's students with an interest in high-tech, we might send somebody from the cyber defense unit of the Israel Defense Forces to speak about policy and to bring Israel's voice to the forefront on issues of global intrigue that frankly most immediately impact upon the State of Israel. We don't believe that there's automatically, axiomatically, a strong opposition to a presence of the Israel Defense Forces on campus. What we actually believe is that given that the officers are on uniform and given that the officers have very, very deep experiences in the area about which they're speaking, students are actually open to listening from them, opening to posing tough questions, and when the students know that the officers are there not only to speak but also to listen, and when the students know that a tough question will receive the fullest professional response that the officer is able to marshal, then they come ready for a discussion. Perhaps it'll be robust, but it will always be focused and positive. So over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, we've brought to the law schools of the United States members of the Israeli Military Advocate, the IDF. Since Operation Protective Edge in 2014, we've specialized in bringing active officers of the IDF's Military Advocate General's Corps. So effectively the equivalent of JAG officers from the United States, only in this case from Israel. Those officers speak to the law students about the laws of armed conflict and the challenge for democracies writ large when it comes to battling back against non-state actors or terror organizations. So we've brought the chief advisor to the International Law Department of the Israel Defense Forces. We've also brought the senior legal advisor to the Israeli National Police, Brigadier General Shaul Gordon, and that entire legal initiative was given its beginnings by way of bringing the Deputy Military Advocate General of the Israel Defense Forces at that time, who was Colonel Eli Baron. So we've really moved from strength to strength with that. I think one of the biggest challenges that's in front of anybody who wants to do positive Israel messaging overseas is that they have to urgently realize that students are not interested in slogans. Students are not interested in simplistic answers. Students are not interested in hearing buzz phrases or propagandist responses to difficult questions, to complicated questions that are dealing with very complex issues. If you provide students with experts in the field that interests them, they feel they are being exposed to a frank conversation, an open conversation, and a conversation by way of which they can learn.
Our Soldiers Speak is a very important organization because, unfortunately, people are getting their information about Israel from the media, which is very biased against Israel, unfortunately. And our Soldiers Speak is bringing the truth to the campuses and the students. For law students, they'll bring policymakers and lawyers up to the IDF or the Israel National Police to explain the laws of the IDF or the Israel National Police and relevant topics that are interesting to us. To medical schools, they'll bring people in the medical field of the IDF, and they are answering the tough questions that people really want to know about Israel. Because people are interested in what's going on in the world, they open the news, and the media isn't portraying what's going on correctly. And our Soldiers Speaks brings the original sources, they're bringing the policymakers, they're bringing the legal advisors and the generals of the IDF, the Israel National Police, members of Knesset, and they're telling us the truth. They're telling us what's going on here from the original source. We're understanding Israel through the eyes of the original source. The message is people need to become aware about what's actually going on. Stop turning on the media, get on a plane and come to Israel. See what's happening here. And also, you can become more informed by inviting speakers to your campuses through our Soldiers Speak and hear from the policymakers, hear from generals, hear from people who actually know what's going on, who are actually living it here. Hear from the original sources instead of the biased media. I just want to take this opportunity to thank our Soldiers Speak, to thank Benjamin Anthony, Rosita Panini, for organizing such amazing opportunities and events for us to learn about Israel and to learn what's actually going on here, because it's very important, and I hope you continue to do amazing work.
When I was a soldier serving as a lone soldier in the Second Lebanon War some 10 years ago, as I crossed back into Israel from being inside Lebanon, I was called aside by my captain, and he said to me, "Benjamin, there's a reporter from the Times of London over there, go and sit for interview." And I did so. I followed his order. And as I sat and had this conversation with this reporter, it became very, very clear to me that, frankly, nobody was speaking in fluent language from the position of the subject that was being discussed, in this case, the Second Lebanon War. No one was speaking in clear English about what was going on in the battlefield, about what was going on the other side of the border, and I realized that something had to be done about that. But it had to be done in a substantive way. It had to be done in a way that credits the intelligence of the audience, and in a way from which both the speaker and the audience has the opportunity to learn one from the other. Our experience is very, very deep. As I mentioned, we've been to close to 400 university campuses, and we feel that the toughest of questions are our greatest asset, because only by hearing those questions can we finally answer them in full.